Hello everyone, this is Selks here, and just a couple of hours prior to the making of this video, we have a Shadowverse stream which revealed 7 new cards for the upcoming mini expansion. As with every new card revealed, we have to do a card review. And I'll try to I'll do my best with my limited rotation knowledge and try to go into each detail for each card, try to see how they fit into current decks and how they will probably affect future decks going forward. So first up, we have probably one of the most gorgeous art I've seen so far. Roland the Faultless, 6 mana, 5/5 legendary Swordcraft commander with Ward and a fanfare that destroys an enemy follower and restore 3 defense to your leader once allied followers have evolved at least 3 times, and if allied followers have evolved 5 times, you draw 2 cards and recover 4 play points. On evolve, you have Ward, and if there isn't any allied Durandal the Eternal in play, you summon 1. Durandal the Eternal is a amulet, 6 cost, doesn't matter, you're not playing this anyways, and while it's in play, all allies and allied followers that come into play cannot be targeted by enemy effects. So, what implications does this have? So first up, having allied followers evolve at least 3 times a match by turn 6 is really easy to achieve. I'm just going to pull up my Swordcraft deck real quick. And as you can see, this is my current list for neutral sword. Even with this list right now, it's really easy to get to 3 evolved by turn 6. Troya before your evolve turn, follow into Charlemagne, into a neutral follower, buff it once, and that's 3 evolves already. Troya can come down on turn 4, Shadi on turn 5. 3 evolves by turn 6 is not hard. And if you're going second, Troya on turn 3, Shadi into Blooming Dancer on turn 4. And then on turn 5, you can evolve another 2 times with any combination of a Swordcraft follower, neutral follower, buff it once, that's another 2 evolve. And Durandal will come down for 5 evolve on turn 6. No problem. The only issue with this deck right now is because my current list relies on consistency. I run Tony as well as Troya, which draws either Radia or Charlemagne for Radia for finisher, Charlemagne as your main evolve driver. So with the introduction of Roland, which is a commander card, I'm expecting my list to change drastically. Probably cut Tony because there's no... If I can guarantee myself a Charlemagne or a Radial early on, there's no point playing him. Probably swap it out for Asuka and Shiori perhaps. Then maybe let's see what other changes there are as well. Next part we have to look at is that this Roland also draws 2 cards and recover 4 play point. Recovering 4 play point is really interesting. Coming straight to mind, one play that you can make with Roland. Of course, I'm a memer, so don't expect this line of thought to go anywhere good. Roland into Wise on turn 6, for example. You can play Roland, then if you have 4 play points left, you can play Wise, evolve it. Now you can hide Wise behind a ward followers like Roland. And Roland also destroys an enemy follower upon coming to play, which helps you fight for a board. And it's also a 5/5 ward. It's not a bad stat line for a 6 drop. Usually 6 drops are 6/6, but 5/5 is perfectly fine, especially with this many keywords and effects. And I mean, to be fair, if you had to Durandal down, Wise will be even more difficult to deal with. But I don't think if you're gonna play Roland with Wise, you probably won't. You'll probably choose Wise over Roland. But if you choose to evolve Roland and getting Durandal down, where it makes it so that I'm assuming this affects the leader as well. All your allies and your leader cannot be targeted by enemy effects. Off the top of my head, the only real card that this counters is, in my mind, Castell. Castell's fanfare is a targeted effect. That one, you won't have to worry about that anymore. Then we also have Synthetic Eden, really strong card, but with the effect of Durandal, your opponent playing Portal will not be able to just use Synthetic Eden to target your followers. But other than that, I can't think of any other targeted effects that you might worry about. Just gonna go through all the list of the cards I know real quick. Maybe if you're facing Big Haven, we have, who's the guy? The Condemn, the 6th Condemn Legendary. Iradel for Haven, which is a targeted effect, which this may make a difference, but I'm still not certain about sacking one bot slot on your board in exchange for this effect. As you have seen from my own list, assuming if I slot it in, I still rely on the rally package to end off games. But if I lock off one part of my board, which just means one less bot slot for me to rally. I'm not sure if you will usually go for Durandal, the internal, maybe in more specific matchups, like if you're facing Portal, facing Haven, facing Forest, quote unquote. I believe you would be inclined to go for Durandal, but more often than not, I don't believe you will ever want to play for the Evolve. But you would rather play for the main body, which Evolve 5 times, 2 mana, 5/5 ward, destroy enemy follower, restore 3 defense, draw 2 cards is really, really good. Interesting to see how this goes. I find it very versatile, more locked into more Evolve archetypes, which, you know what, I don't mind. It's really cool card. Definitely will try my hands out with it. And I'll give it a good solid 4/5 for this review. Next up, we have Day, Master Spy. A 3 mana 2/2 Storm, quite an aggressive card, and it puts a special investigation into your hand. On Evolve, it has Storm, no change in its stats, with Ambush and Strike, draw a card. Special investigation is a 1 play point spell which puts a Earnest Agent into your hand, Evin, and evolves and random Day Master Spy, which probably is the one that you played. And Evin is a 0 mana 2/2 rush, fanfare, give another allied followers +1/+1, which again, neutral sword support. So right off, just a main body 3 mana 2/2, quite solid, quite aggressive build. Understated for 3 drop, which is understandable since it is a storm follower. Very obvious the game plan is to play this on turn 4. You play Day, go face, play special investigation, evolve Day, and then this will become a gets ambush, and next time you strike, you also draw a card. Or if you want to get the card draw immediately, just evolve it, which fits quite well with Roland, as we mentioned earlier. You evolve 1 time before evolve turn, 2 times on evolve turn, and you basically can get at least the 3 evolves effect off very, very easily. But other than that, would this be able to fit into aggressive deck? For 4 mana actually, you technically do Rally 2, which is on the slower side. Potentially could fit into an aggressive deck. I'm not going to have high hopes on it though. Let me see. Evin is a 1 mana Rally 2. 1 mana Rally 1, and it gives a buff to a follower. You can combo it with Twin Blader, but probably not. Assuming you ready once on 1, twice on 2, then 3, 4, 8 with Despotic Pawn Maker, and maybe another follower 9, 10. By turn 5, you should be able to be at rally 14. Potential to be an aggressive rally deck. I won't bet on it though, since this is obviously still a 2/2, 3 mana 2/2, which is quite heavy. But it could potentially increase the lethal range, or push up the aggressiveness of rally decks a notch. Makes it so that your Twin Blader can win a lot easier. But then again, this game plan is really weak against ward followers, so probably don't expect too much out of Day in aggressive decks. But in evolved decks, you can definitely find a home for her. Just looking at my list right now, I can probably get rid of Altair and Harbinger of the Night. We are getting quite a bit of healing with Roland, so Harbinger of the Night might not be as necessary. Altair might not be as necessary. High-Minded Knight is really weak, so that's definitely going. So yeah, pretty good card. Actually, it's a little bit on the, in my opinion, it's a little bit on the weaker side. But that will definitely see play in Evolve Sword. Is a free Evolve after all. So all things considered, 3 stars. Playable, doesn't feel that strong yet. Yet. Keyword is yet. Actually, no, the 0 mana cards are really broken. So if you're playing 4 mana for 2 2 that draws 1. 2 that draws 1 immediately. 1 mana for draw 1, get a 0 mana, buff 2/2. You know what? Actually, this card is a lot better than I thought it is. If I break it down like that. This is a 3 mana 2/2 storm. Special Investigation is a draw 1 basically if you play on 4 alongside Day. And you still get another follower to play, which is a 0 cost card. You know what? I might bump it up to a 4. This feels really solid. Only the main body feels a bit slow. If it's not the main body, I think it's perfectly a-okay. Oh right, never mind. There's Golem Boost. If Golem Boost is good, then they is useless potential. Yeah, you lose too much tempo if you face Golem Boost. So long Golem Boost is a thing, a day is actually really bad. But I still give it a 3. 3. I thought myself into giving it a 4, and then now I'm cutting it down to 3 because I remember Golem Lord exists. It's a deck that's really good in the meta. Yeah, they have quite a number of Golem and Wards if you're spending 4 mana to get a 2/2 only. Or a 3/3 if you play Irvin immediately. Yeah, I don't see how this beats Golem Boost. So yes. Interesting card, but I'm still going to give it a 3. Let's move on. Next up, Terminus Dragoon, Dragoncraft Legendary, 3 mana, 3/2, Rush and Bane. Trades into 1 follow on turn 3 regardless of whether your opponent likes it or not. And fanfare, subtract 1 from the cost of 2 random Dragoncraft followers in your hand. If Overflow is active, this gets Storm. So for 3 mana to deal 3 damage, I don't think the Storm aspect is too important. I don't doubt you'll ever play for in Overflow. But I mean you do play if it's in your hand, but if you're playing, I'm assuming this goes into Big Dragon. Or is there a more aggressive dragon matchup right now? Yeah, that's Buff Dragon. Does this work in Buff? 3 mana for a 3 damage card. Potentially, if you want to look at it, this is technically a 1 mana 3/2. If you play the 2 followers that you discount immediately after you play Terminus Dragon, this is basically 1 mana. It's a 1 mana 3/2 Storm. If you want to think about it that way, that's actually really, really good. Of course, if you just play early to trade into 1 follower is really, really average. But maybe I'm not. This isn't exactly ramping, but you can think of it as reverse ramping. You're reducing the cost of cards in your hand instead of just getting to them earlier, which is a slightly bit weaker. I'm just gonna rattle off some sort of combo you can do off the top of my head. Let's see. You discount Celestial Worm God by 1, so now you can get it out on turn. Let's see, Ram 2, Ram 3. On turn 4, you have 6 mana. Never mind, doesn't work. You're still getting it on turn 4 anyways, even if you play Terminus Dragoon or not. But more often than not, you want to play Celestial Worm God for 10. On 10, actually, if you play on 10, then you can go Celestial Worm God immediately into a Relic Dragon, or immediately into a Taras, immediately into what was that card? Dormant Dragon, if that's what you want, or immediately into what other 8 drops are there for Dragon that I really hate to see. Immediately in a Drazahel, for example, since 7 is it's quite unnatural for Celestial Worm God, but if you manage to discount it to 6, you can combo it with another follower on turn 10, which Terminus Dragoon can really, really well slot into. And then in Overflow, if you're assuming you're gonna play the 2 followers that you're gonna play alongside Terminus, is a 1 mana 3/2 Storm. Yeah, this is actually really good. It's really good, except for the fact that it doesn't draw. So that's the only downside I see for this card. Is maybe as Big Dragon, you might want more card advantage in your hand early game to look for the important cards. If you don't have any followers for this to hit, it kind of feels bad to play. And also to make space for this in your deck, feels like you need a little more, you need more ideal cards to play alongside this. But you know what? Since I don't play Dragon, I'm just going to quickly craft up a Big Dragon deck and see how this will work. So yeah, this is just a random list I cooked up. Don't worry, it's probably not what most Dragon players are running right now, but just probably a small guesstimate of what it will feel like. Maybe people will cut like Silver Scale Sentry for our good old friend, the Terminus Dragoon, which, you know what, actually slots quite well in here. And if you can pair it up with Degenerate Dragon and all their glisters, it'll be also really strong. 1 mana Terminus Dragoon into discounted Degenerate Dragon into all their glisters into Lowly Dragon into another follower could be really, really huge. It's actually another target for all their glisters to hit. So considering how the current list, with my current list, which is probably really bad, and how other Big Dragon lists are a lot better than mine, I can safely say that Terminus Dragon can find a good home in Big Dragon and even in Buff Dragon as well. Considering that Buff Dragon has quite a lot about tempo, and getting a 1 mana 2 health, even 4 health storm is quite huge for Buff Dragon. Like, assume it hits Joe and maybe a striker. You get 1 mana 3/7, and then another 1 mana 0 mana 3/7, which is the striker, and then you get Joe. I'm really scared just thinking about that. That feels really, really solid in a Dragon deck. That's really strong. So, thinking about how versatile it is, I'm actually going to give Terminus Dragoon a 5-star rating. It's not like it's the best card. I'm now really glad that this doesn't have draw. If this has if Fanfare says draw a card, this might actually become one of the most broken cards ever. But right now it's really solid, it's really balanced, and I think it might be able to enable some really fun shenanigans in the future. So I think it's actually a 5-star card. Next up, Dragon Slayer's Tragedy, 9 mana. Do I want to read further? Banish all enemy cards in play. Last Word Shadows is in shambles. Control decks are in shambles, but it is 9 mana. So obviously you're never gonna play it for 9 mana. If you're playing that, you're asking to lose the game. Really obvious you're planning to hit this off Degenerate Dragon. But if you want to hit this off Degenerate Dragon, in what world will you make space for this? If Last Words was annoying you too much, I guess you can play Dragon Slayer. If there's a deck that loves having a board too much, you can play Dragon Slayer's Tragedy. Like, off the top of my head, maybe Golem Lord. They come out on turn 5. If you can get to 9 mana, you can play this. Problem is it dilutes your Relic Dragon pool, and if you're already running all their glisters, it makes Relic Dragon pulling an actual follower a lot more difficult than it needs to be. Maybe as a one-off, just in case you run into a Last Words matchup and you really want to ruin their day, and my day by extension because I love Shadow. Or what other decks will you ruin? What other deck's day will you ruin? Let's see, off the top of my head, Big Haven probably will be fine. They don't care if you banish their cards. Control Sword, if they run Wise, they will be really sad. Then again, there's Order Eternal Assist. And then if you can pull this off against Golem Boost, that also works. Feels really niche. I'll give it 2-star. It's not like there's no place for Dragon Slayer's Tragedy. Just like, there are better things you can do. But it won't hurt you just to run 1 copy of this. So, you probably won't hit this off Relic Dragon. And if you do, you won't be tilted too often. because you eventually draw it once or Ready Dragon once, but hey, you won't be tilted about it because it happens like what once in a blue moon or something like that. Or you can be tilted that you didn't draw it in the one specific matchup where you needed it. But then again, that's on you. Moving on. Elixir God Swan Shield, 6 mana, 6/8 overstated. Legendary Havencraft follower, Storm Ward. I'm hating this already. Fanfare, if you have more evolve points than your opponent, gain the following effect and evolve this follower for free, cannot be destroyed by effects. And it cannot take more than 4 damage at a time. Okay, that's... You know, when I first saw this card on the review, I thought it said it cannot take more than 3 damage at a time. And I was like, that is so busted. If you cannot take more than 3 damage, it means Elixir needs to be traded into 3 times just to be killed. But now that it says cannot take more than 4 damage at a time, I think it's a lot more balanced. It's really unimpressive in a way, but it's a 6/8 after all that takes at least 2 followers to trade into on turn 6. That's really easy to achieve. Or if it's an 8/10, maybe 3 followers. You need 3 followers. If you're going first, just evolving this, you can also just get 8 damage to face immediately. And then if you can follow it up with a John's Double Storm, 5/4/4, 4/4 8/13. Well, if you can follow it but with a John Double Storm, it is lethal. If you have Elixir. Elixir on board, if you are going second, it's really cool. You get to evolve for free. But it also means your entire turn is spent on Elixir. Okay, analyzing this card deeper, right off the bat, I'm thinking Big Haven support, obviously. And then there's also a little part of me which wants to say this is Heal Haven support as well. Heal Haven for the 6th slot, you're competing with Cottontail or whoever the bunny is, which is actually a lot better than Elixir. But Elixir being not able to take more than 4 damage at a time, if you can buff it just even 1 time, you make it so you have to trade into her 3 times. For the next breakpoint, you need to buff it 3 times once you get evolve it alongside with an evolve point, so that you have to trade into her 4 times. Buffing 3 times on turn 6 is difficult and hard to achieve. Buffing 1 time on turn 6, however, is quite easy, especially if you have Vadilia. So not impossible to see this in play during in Heal Haven. More often than in Big Haven though. Big Haven also has Pendulum Almirage. It's called Cottontail Almirage. So if it's Pendulum, you can cheat Elixir out, run it into something, face or follower, and then bounce it back to play next turn. Pendulum also be able to run into a card. 5 mana, deal with 2 followers is okay. It's set decent in Shadowverse. If it's your opponent's face though, I'll be a lot more concerned. If your opponent doesn't have any ward and you can just run this into their face, I would be really worried. And then if it on turn 6, it's a 6/8, runs 1 time into your opponent's face, 8 damage, 6 into 12, 14, and then maybe if another Elixir on turn 8, 7 for lethal, especially if your opponent's like dumb enough to not run any wards or face protection, which doesn't happen often, but when it does, this feels miserable to play against. The fact it cannot be destroyed by card effects is a little bit annoying, especially since she can take more than 4 damage at a time. when I saw this on the review on the stream, I thought this might be my new hated card. I groaned internally when I saw it. It's like, oh man, it's another card that's just storm damage, ward, and I have to deal with it, otherwise I lose. Because I thought it says it cannot take more than 3 damage at a time, and I was like, I need to run followers into these 3 times just to kill it. Really? And on evolve, I had to run into it 4 times. Nah, don't do this to me. But since this is quite a lot slower than I thought it is going to be, so I'm more happy with it now. The way it is feels a lot more balanced. Does it feel great to play or great to face? Probably not. it doesn't deal with your opponent's board. So if you're because remember, this is a card game, so even if you're not doing anything, your opponent will be doing something. On turn 5, they probably will have, if you're not reacting to you, they will have a board of their own. Expect boards of 2/2s. Elixir will probably die quite easily, but at least you'll get 6 damage off and basically 8 extra hit points for your face. I think it's fine. It's average, not really impressive. Won't break the game. Will maybe make some people regret their life decisions, but other than that, it's fine. So that's, I'll say, a 3/5 star card. Let's see if there's any more. Dean Cannon Sword Soldier, Portocraft Legendary with Accelerate 1, destroy all allied followers. If at least 2 were destroyed this way, destroy 2 random enemy followers. Clearing your board for 1 mana is really strong for artifacts, which consistently run into board space issues. It's a 5/5, which I don't think will matter since it's 6 cost. Let's see what its main body says. On ward, it's a 5, deal 5 to Fanfare, it deals 5 to all enemies. If at least 20 artifact followers has been shuffled into your deck, it does 10 instead. Retrophia is in shambles. Like, actually, Retrophia may just lost its spot as a finisher. I do have a portal deck, artifact portal deck, so I'm going to pull it up and we're going to make some adjustments to it based on this card. So this is my current artifact list. As you can see right now, there is actually a card I run that I think I can replace really easily. Disseminator of Wisdom. It's basically a 1 mana destroy artifact to do 2 to the enemy leader. In my opinion, if I have a card like, what is that guy called? Dying. Involved, I probably won't run Disseminator of Wisdom ever again. Dying can actually win me the game, which doing 10 damage is obviously a lot more than doing 2 damage. In exchange, I might actually cut Lazuli is good, Cornelia is good, Ivamia is really good. Probably Laser Tyranny. The problem with this card right now is that it puts you're mostly shuffling for Laser Tyranny. You probably won't play for Analyzing or Ancient Artifact. Honestly, I feel like even Homunculus Advent is like better than Tyranny. Is it? Let me check. Is it 2 or 4? 2. 2 Analyzing Artifact. And then it draws a random artifact at the end of turn. Well, actually, maybe Laser Tyranny isn't that bad. Homunculus, I might cut Homunculus for this. Getting to 20 artifact shuffle is really easy. Let's say you have secured Argyle already. Let's see, Argyle, just getting to Argyle's fusion, you probably, well, let's assume it didn't fuse with Argyle. Let's see. You get Jet Power, which is 4, Holy Biker is 2, Ivamia is 2, Laser Tyranny is 2, Reboot Button is 2. If you take Mecha Electric Rhino, you get 3 immediately right off the bat, and each Mecha Rhino also shuffles 3 into your deck. So that's like what? 3, 6, 9, 6, 15. Just a couple more cards and then you hit 20 easy, no problem. That is really strong, really solid. I'll say it's a 5/5 star card for Portal. Just paying 6 mana to do 10 damage to everything. Big, huge, amazing, insane. Might even propel artifacts into a tier 1 deck. So where was I? 5/5 star. Next one. Oceaner Shifting Radiance. Fanfare, put a Drop of Kindness or Flowing Mercy into your hand. If allied followers have evolved at least 3 times, evolve this follower. Feels like neutral sword support. Will I ever run this in neutral shadow? Never. Potentially. Doesn't have last words. I won't do that. But what does the spells do? Drops of Kindness is a 1 mana restore 3 defense. That's really strong. Next one, Flowing Mercy is a 1 mana destroy and follow with 5 defense or less. These 2 spells are insanely strong. 1 mana heal 3 is really good. You see if you play unlimited, you see this in a lot of WoW accelerates. 1 mana restore 3, 0 mana restore 2. 1 mana for this effect is really strong. Flowing Mercy, usually 1 mana cards do 3 damage to a follower, which means it destroys an enemy follower with 3 defense or less. Flowing Mercy, on the other hand, destroys enemy follower with 5 defense or less. which is usually you can translate it to as being a 5-cost follower. Then you get it to destroy for 1 mana. This is a really strong card. And not to mention the main body also evolves for free if you have evolved at least 3 times this match, which is, as I mentioned, really easy to achieve. Not by turn 5, but maybe turn 6, or even actually maybe turn 5 as well if you're going second. Or even just playing this on 2 as a 2 mana 2/2, I wouldn't mind. Especially since I get these strong cards as a backup plan, depending on what I need. If I'm aggressive matchup, I take the heal. If I'm the one being aggressive, I'll take Flowing Mercy. Really solid card. I think it might actually be a game changer for most decks now and in the future. This is also a really cheap way of healing. Especially if you can have some free evolves, this basically become a 4/4 follower, 2 mana 4/4, and then you can heal, pay 1 mana to heal 3 on top of it. Really solid. I think this is a 5/5 cards. In more control tempo mid-range decks, you will definitely see people running 3 copies of this. Really strong. And I think that's all the cards revealed right now. Pretty good, as mentioned so far, review so far. I like a lot of the cards. They are pretty strong. I'm excited to see what sort of shadow cards they'll play, they'll review, and I'm loving this art of Roland. But yes, if you're new to the channel and you're interested in more Shadowverse content, remember leave a like, leave a subscribe, and without further ado, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.